Hi everyone, we're HonestEye. My name is May.
This is Muhammad.
Deception is a nuanced human interaction. Currently, there's nothing that can predict what is a lie with 100% certainty. The goal of our project is to determine a lie given 3 options, where the other 2 options are truths. One constraint is that the sentences must be related to Canadian cities. Our baseline model is a random classification model, where the performance accuracy is 33%, as if you'd taken a random guess. The software we used was the Hugging Faces pre-trained GPT-2 model with a classifier head, and GPT-4 was used in our data pipeline to collect data and also for processing. We also use Wikipedia API to help us summarize Wikipedia articles, and Gradio was used for our front end. This is our architecture. We start off with the input data, which is fed into GPT-2, and the training, validation, and test were split into 70, 20, and 10, respectively. The classifier head classifies the output by predicting which position the lie is in, 0, 1, or 2. So we gather our data by querying for Wikipedia articles and summarizing them, and then we clean the data set. GPT-4 was used to turn truthful sentences into lies, and at the end we had 432 samples, which we think is in the right magnitude of samples because we didn't want to overtrain or overwrite some of the training done by GPT-2.
This is an example of what the actual input to the model looks like. We grouped 3 sentences together, only which one of them is a lie. In this example, for example, the first one is a lie and the 2 other sentences are true. So we fine-tuned the GPT-2 using that data set that we were talking about, and we ended up with a validation accuracy of 45% and the training accuracy of about 90%. The validation accuracy is better than the random guessing with 33% accuracy, but we noticed that there is a huge gap between the validation accuracy and the training accuracy, which suggests that there is a problem with the input data set and we are having an overfitting issue.
So after our initial results, we collected even more data, and we looked at the data to see if there are any trends. We started off by removing sentences that didn't make sense as standalone, sentences that didn't contain English characters, poorly formatted sentences, and also we took sentences that had this city and made it more specific so that it said Toronto. We also employed a technique where we asked GPT, instead of giving us 1 lie given 1 input, we asked it to give us 5 lies given 1 input. And we noticed that the first input was usually more straightforward and direct and very obvious, whereas the later lies were more creative and unique.
So after we modified how the dataset was created, this is an example of how different it is. The first sentence is from the article about Toronto, and the second sentence is how GPT-4 tried to negate the sentence, but we could see GPT-4 did it in the most naive way. For example, instead of using direct, it used indirect or unpopular instead of popular, which was not really coherent. But when we used another prompt to generate the negative sentence, we could see that example generated in the third sentence, which is much more interesting than the second one. So we trained the model again using the new dataset that we created, and we could see that the validation accuracy increased to above 80% and the test accuracy was now above 70%. We see that the gap between training and validation accuracy is now reduced to about 20%, which is way better than 45% as we had it before. This is an example of how getting input and output for the model looks like. We could see that the first sentence is actually obviously not true, and the model guessed that's wrong. That's right. But we don't claim that the model is able to accurately guess everything. For example, in this example, we could see that the third sentence is not true, but the model predicted the second one was a lie.
We were surprised about the performance. We expected it to be a lot lower. We suspect that this is because of how we generated our input through GPT-4. In the future, we want to change the content of our data set to something more susceptible to lies. For example, character personalities from fictional books or movies, rather than Canadian cities, which from Wikipedia articles, which is more factual. We would also like to collect data from real humans on social media.
The reason why we started collecting data from Wikipedia instead of other sources was that it was first we have to be sure that this model is actually able to detect lies with this with a particular subject, a particular topic. Then we could generalize to more diverse input data sets, for example, a data set about characteristics and things like that. And in order to do so, we have to change our input data set to other things.
Thank you.